All right, guys. So in this video, I want to explain to all of you why I gave up on dating. And don't get me wrong, the only way you can actually fail in life is by quitting, by giving up. And I don't really advise anyone to do this, but hopefully you can kind of understand where I'm coming from when I say this, because the thing about dating is there's only so much you can do, right? So for those of you guys that work a job, you can get promoted, you can make more money, you can start a side hustle, right? 3, 4 months ago, which was about the time I gave up on dating, well, my life changed for the better. I started making more money. Mentally, I was far less stressed. And the reason for that is because the thing with dating is if you're like an average looking guy, the only way you can actually see success with dating is by shooting in volume versus somebody who's like super attractive that just kind of plays on easy mode, right? Like an attractive guy still doesn't even get as much attention as an average looking girl. The numbers just aren't in your favor. And you have to realize that you have to go through a bunch of different women to understand what exactly you're looking for. And, I've been with, I don't even, 6 or 7 girls to this point. And unfortunately for me, I never was able to find the one. But, a lot of the times when I would talk to a girl, they would flake or they'd ghost me. A month ago, or like a month and a half ago to this point, I had a girl over and we hooked up and I never heard from her again. And then a week later, I had a date with another girl and she ended up flaking the morning of the date. And that was the last straw for me because I knew that I wasn't in a position mentally to do that anymore. There's nothing worse than getting ghosted and flaked on. I mean, sure, if you get like literally no one at all, I mean, that's like the worst possible thing. But you feel more alone when those things happen to you versus when you get nothing at all, right? Because I haven't spoken to a girl since that flake. And again, my Instagram business has doubled. My YouTube channels are all doing well. The only channel that's not is the one you're watching right now. The reason for that is I haven't been speaking to women, so I haven't had content to make. And the videos that were doing well were the ones with me getting ghosted and flaked on because people can relate to it, right? So the better my life is, like, unfortunately, kind of the worse this channel is going to do, which is why I decided to bring it back, man, to sort of prove my point. Now, I'm not saying this video is going to get 10,000 views, but go and look at my last couple of videos. I promise you this will do better because a lot of men can relate, right? And I just want you guys to know that you're not exactly in this by yourself. Everyone pretty much is struggling. Now, I'm sure there's guys watching this that aren't struggling, but there's a lot of factors that play into it, right? Like you take me, for example, and trust me, I'm not trying to play the race card. I'm not trying to be that dude, but I'm 6'2". I am light skinned. I have my hair looks awful, which is why I have a hat on. Go Knicks, by the way, Knicks tape. But whenever I'd get attention from girls, they kind of would have a false perception of me and they liked what they saw externally, but then they started talking to me and they realized that, well, they didn't like me. And again, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I think I'm pretty articulate. If you were to say anything about me, I'd say that's probably the first thing you would start off with is I'm well spoken, right? That turns a lot of women off. And I told a story on the channel like a couple of weeks ago about this guy that I know who blew up on TikTok, and this girl DM'd him, wanted to meet up, was like basically fell in love with him, and then she met him and it didn't exactly work out and he got completely played. Now, everything happens for a reason. Now, of course, everything happens for a reason. Moments like that ends up making you stronger. But some stories that I've never actually told on the channel that I may or may not get into, but you'd be surprised. Well, you probably wouldn't be. I don't know why I'm saying you'd be surprised. You're probably not surprised at all. But a lot of the girls that I would bring around would end up hitting on my friends, or if you're just around other people, they'd hit on them. And they were never really my girl. They were just kind of mine, maybe for that night or for that moment. And eventually they just kind of move on, like they'd get bored. And that was a big thing for me as well, was the types of girls that I actually wanted. I was able to sleep with them. I was able to, hang out with them, but I wasn't able to really keep them around. And, there's a false narrative that goes around about me, which is, it's a little bit disappointing, but again, you can't control that. There's a lot of people who react to my videos, bigger channels, and they spin this narrative that I'm an unconfident guy who doesn't have any self-esteem, which is crazy because why the hell would I be making these videos if that was true? If I, cared at all what people thought about me, why would I be recording about it, telling you guys like the bad things that happened to me? And then, you know, their communities, they just see me as this guy who's a whiner and a complainer. But imagine if you had a girl and you took her over to your apartment and then she ends up sleeping with your roommate. Now imagine if that happened again. I mean, how would you feel? You'd probably lose faith. And, you know, the worst thing about it is a lot of the time it's not even necessarily better looking guys. Yeah, sure. Like, you know, attractive guys play on easy mode, but it's also about the way that a person can make you feel. And even if a guy is lesser attractive, if he makes her feel a certain type of way, or if he has status or money or this and that, there's a lot of factors that play into it. Of course, looks is the most important, but there's also things more important than looks. Like there's, you know, comedians who do better than really, like, imagine if you have 100 followers on Instagram and you're good looking, or if you have 5 million and you're like, I mean, who do you think can really exactly do better, right? I mean, status is probably the only thing more important than looks. Pre-selection is also pretty important. Again, there's ways to pull without being good looking, but if you aren't good looking and you aren't rich and you don't have a bunch of followers, then you basically are a ghost, right? Now, thankfully for me, I do have an audience. I'm not millions, far from it. You know, I've got about 125K across my platforms, which really in the grand scheme of things isn't really that much, but you know, I've seen more success because of that versus like other guys on my looks level. Yes, it does help you pull. And I tell stories about this, and you know, people go to the comments and they're like, oh, this guy thinks because he has status he deserves girls. It's not exactly that. I'm just saying it helps you. You know, girls see me and they see me as a content creator. They see me with followers. Like I'll go live on Instagram and I'll have, you know, 1,000 people in there, and they think it's cool. It's something that kind of helps me stand out. Or of course, when I lived in the city, being in sections versus just at a bar, right? You know, it was I had a girl my last night in Houston before I moved back home. The manager of the club gave me a free section just because it was my last night, man. You know, I was like a regular there. And this girl walks up and she's like, hey, is it cool if I, you know, hang out here or whatever? And she brought her friend, and then her and I like hung out the whole night. She ended up getting me a drink at the bar because like the bottle ran out, and you know, we stayed in touch. We still follow each other and things like that. Like that doesn't happen. Like she would never have done that unless I was in a section, right? So, and again, there's a big difference from having like literally nothing to offer and being average versus different lifestyles and things like that. Now, obviously, yes, you got to be careful with your money. I'm not saying that because you can get used pretty easily. But if you're kind of smart enough, if you're cognizant enough to realize which ones want you for that and which ones don't. Because, yeah, a beautiful girl can fall in love with you for you because she's going to see you in a different way versus if you didn't have those things. Like everyone's like, oh, she just wants your money. Not exactly true. It's powerful, man. It's, again, you're going to make her feel some type of way because you can offer things that nobody else can. And that stuff does matter, right? It does matter. You know, I wish it wasn't the case. I wish that, you know, every single person listening to this could have the girl of their dreams and they could just love them for them. But man, that's just not really how it works, bro. And if it did for you, then kudos to you, because it certainly has it for me. I mean, bro, I've been on so many dates. I've kissed so many girls. I don't have a high body count, but I'm kind of glad I don't, because, I mean, as a man, having a high body count doesn't really matter. But, you know, what I realize is that it's kind of worth the wait. Like as Jackson, my friend Jackson always says, you know, sometimes the juice isn't exactly worth the squeeze. That's why I quit drinking. That's why I quit watching and consuming corn. And I feel a lot better. You know, yesterday, it was like 6 o'clock in the evening, and I had made a couple of videos, and I got like this burst of energy. I had a black coffee for the first time in a while. And I had an awesome dream the night before. And, you know, funny enough is I haven't talked to a girl, and it's not funny, but it's kind of depressing, but well, not depressing. That's a bad phrase. It's kind of embarrassing, but my life has been better. So I guess I'll keep it going. 'Cause like, would you guys rather have basically everything you want, but no partner? Or would you rather have like a partner, but like a shitty life? 'Cause when I had my ex-girlfriend at the beginning of the year, like I had a girl, like, but bro, I was broke. My roommate situation was terrible. I just lived for the weekend. When I saw her, like, now I have no hoes. Sorry, I have no women. But like my channels are doing well mentally. I'm feeling better. I've always had you guys can see I don't have good skin, but I feel like it's getting better. just on its own from less stress and not drink. I haven't drank in like 2 weeks. So, but yeah, if I'm being real, my life was honestly a living hell when I was dealing with girls. And again, people are going to twist my words. The reason for that is that it's a living hell because it's not easy. It's not easy. If they really like you, they make it easy. But if they don't, they're going to play games. They're going to play you. They're going to flake. They're going to ghost. And that's what happened with me. It's as simple as that, bro. You know, I lost several girls too when I was living downtown Houston, right? You know, I had friends that ended up taking the girl that I was with. And I wasn't dating them, so like, you know, it wasn't cheating. But like girls that I had been, you know, consistently kind of getting with and taking them around and hanging out and going out, things like that. And it's like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you get with a guy that they like more and then they sleep with them, right? So, and, you know, a lot of people tell me, they're like, hey, why don't you just kind of have casual sex? They're like, going 2 months is crazy, bro. And like, you're not wrong. Like, you know, I'm not the type of person that thinks I'm right 24/7. You're not wrong at all. I don't like casual sex. I mean, well, as somebody that's trying to become, you know, closer to God, I mean, obviously that's not allowed. But again, I'm not going to hate you for it. I've done it. You know, I'm not a saint by any means. But again, I feel more alone literally when I'm doing that. Like if I, like tonight's college night, if I go out tonight and pull a girl, which is a big if, but if I do, you guys really think I'm going to feel better about myself because I banged a random chick at a bar, or not a bar, sorry, a random college thing? No. What? Think about it, bro. I'm going to feel better being at home, getting ahead of everyone else that is kind of slacking off. Now, it's a Thursday night, so most people have work tomorrow, but like college kids, obviously like Friday. So like, you know, most of them have class off. But you know, I feel literally more complete when I'm getting ahead and when I'm sober. And because the thing about drinking is when you're out drinking, like if you drink at home, cool, bro, like that's fire. But if you just go out drinking and you get drunk, you make bad decisions. And I've made a lot of bad decisions, and thankfully none of them have like really cost me anything besides just like time and money. But man, like it's not the type of environment that you even want to be in. Because like the easiest way to actually pull girls is to go out, because a lot of girls go out and they literally want validation, and they're gonna drink and they're gonna be HORNY. And if you have a place like close by and you know they're gonna dance with you, they're gonna drink. And like even me now, like I've been going out in like a couple of weeks or whatever, but even like me now when I go out, you know, I have girls looking at me and getting close, and sometimes they come up and want to dance and things like that. But it's exhausting, bro. Because all that's going to happen is the next day, you're going to hit them up, and they're probably not going to respond. And that's just the thing, man, because they go out, they want to have fun, they want to drink, they want to get stuff. But it's like, at the end of the day, all those girls are already sleeping with a guy or multiple guys. And that's what you really got to realize, is that there's almost like nothing you can really do. So you're just fighting a losing battle to that point. So hopefully you guys gained anything from this video. Hopefully you understand why I gave up dating 2 months ago. And, you know, people are going to hate. They always do. There's nothing, again, there's things you can't control. I can't control what people say. But if I were chasing girls, they'd hate. But hey, you know, I haven't been chasing girls. I'm on my grind, man. I'm doing well. They're still going to hate. Like, look at the comments. I'm going to tell you all you need to know, man. You can never really win. But hey, man, to anyone that is going out there and getting dates, you know, shout out to you, bro. Obviously, if I could have, you know, a date or two this week, I would do it. But again, I don't like shooting in volume. Could my self-esteem be better? Absolutely. I don't like rejection, and it's not, well, that's not true. I don't mind getting rejected. It's how I get rejected. Bro, so if you go up to someone and you strike up a conversation, and then it's like, you down to hang out sometime, and she's like, oh, like, you know, thanks for the offer, but I'm not really interested. Like, okay, that's cool. It's like, bet, you know, what I'll always say when a girl says that is, no worries, you know, take it as a compliment, and then they'll smile. But a lot of times is they'll just give you like a look, or it's like, you know, like I can't do it because I'm not a girl, but it's like, you know, they give you that look and they're like, really? They're like, you really think that's going to happen? Or they'll be like, I've been called effing ugly. Like, I've never had a girl say ill to me, thankfully, but if you guys have stories, please share it down below. But there's some brutal rejections, and the worst thing is when somebody looks at you and thinks that you're not on their level, or like they can do way better. And don't get me wrong, like, maybe they're right, but it's a really arrogant thing to do. I've had a lot of girls when I've gone out come up to me that were less attractive than me, in my opinion, and I always was very nice about it. A lot of them asked me to dance, and I just wasn't attracted to them, and I like let them know. But it's just like, bro, I'd never act like I'm better than them, bro. You know what I'm saying? Be like, oh, thanks for coming up, but I'm not really interested. And then, well, I'll give you guys an example. Actually, literally 2 weeks ago, a girl DM'd me on Instagram and was into me, and then asked for my number, and then she's like, "Are you available?" And I was like, told her like, "No, I'm actually not available." And she unfollowed me, which is no surprise. No surprise there, right? So, clearly girls don't get rejected very often. I mean, literally a girl threw herself at me, and, I made a video on it saying that, hey, look, like, I just think I'm more attractive than this girl. And the thing about me is that again, I'm not trying to sound like arrogant. I hope this doesn't come across as that. But I feel like I've got a lot of potential. So, like, you look at me, and again, I've already got a platform that's growing every single day. I had a post get 1 million views yesterday, which is freaking awesome, man. Shout out to me. Finally, something goes right in my life. So I got the platforms. My height, 6'2". If you look at my face, I haven't shaved in weeks, in like 2 weeks. So, my skin needs, like right here, bro. It's getting better though. Like, if you just see me now, like, you'll be like, yo, your skin sucks. But like, it's getting better. It was a lot worse. It's getting better for sure. So the height, the platform, everything's kind of improving. I can put on muscle, which isn't gonna all of a sudden make me like a Giga Chad, obviously, but it will help because I'm skinny. So there's like a lot of things that I can do. And then once I do them, I'll be in a better position to date. Another thing as well is I live at home. I moved back like 4 or 5 months ago, so I need a place. So there's just a lot of things that need to be done before I date. And once I check those things off, like, yeah, of course, it kind of sucks that you got to do all of this, but that's just, it's a competitive world, bro. Like, you want a 7 out of 10, bro. NFL players are going to want 7s, bro. Of course, they're going to be able to get higher, but like, if a 7 out of 10 is a gorgeous girl. I don't know why people use 7 like a little bit too loosely. Maybe, I don't know, bro. Like, this is just my opinion, but I think the girls in my post are 7s. Not my shorts, but the girls I took pics with, right, that I went out with, I would say those are 7s. I mean, maybe you guys think they're lower, but like, I think they're gorgeous. I think those are gorgeous girls. Now, of course, they're not like there's 8s and there's 9s and there's 10s. I think they're 7s pretty reasonable. But like, those types of girls, man, like, if they kind of come on to somebody, like, why would they say no, bro? Like, unless they just have an abundance of options. But I mean, there's a lot of people competing for them. And maybe an NFL player might be like a freaking stretch, but just, let's just use a guy who's like a handsome guy who doesn't have status. Like, of course, bro. So, those girls are definitely getting play. I can promise you that, bro. It ain't for me. I mean, they live back in where I'm from, or sorry, not where I'm from. They live back where I live, but so I don't even talk to them anymore. But it was fun, man. I'd rather be where I'm at now versus like going out constantly and having all these things fall through and like go nowhere. It's just a waste of time. The best thing you can do is use your time valuably. And like, the worst way to spend it is to chase after girls. So I think we can kind of all agree. If we're going to agree on anything, it's that chasing after someone who isn't really interested in you, or rather interested in you as much as you're interested in them, it's literally the biggest waste of time. And again, there's a swaggy out narrative that I chase girls. Not exactly. I kind of used to back in college. I'm like low-key trying to force it, man. You kind of have to let it happen and just talk to them. And like, I don't know, bro. Like, technically I'm not doing anything wrong, because like the second or third message is when you should ask them to hang out, because like you're wasting your time just texting them all the time. But it's like, bro, I swear, when you do that, like whenever I do that, like nothing ever happens. It's when I actually text them and then they're like, hey, you're pretty cool. Like, here's my number. I don't know, bro. It's freaking dumb, but it literally makes no sense. But yeah, guys, I'm out. Peace.